One was campaigning for Congress that I didn't make, but you know what? Our campaign that we're a part of right now is so important. We're after every sheriff in the country to stand and protect you from the tyranny of Washington, D.C.
Yeah!
I don't know if you've been seeing the internet and all the emails that are going out. We can't even keep up with it. We're getting 5 to 10 new sheriffs every day that are now standing and saying to Barack Obama and Joe Biden and everybody else in Washington, D.C., your executive orders and your gun control proposals are nothing but a joke. They will not happen in my county. I want all of you to remember this. If you have a pencil or pen, write it down. 5 letters. C-S-P-O-A. It stands for Constitutional Sheriffs Peace Officers Association, where we are creating constitutional sheriffs all across this country, and peace officers and chiefs of police. We actually have 2 or 3 now chiefs of police who have said the same things that we have now, even in California. Sheriffs telling the federal government, we will not allow your gun control here. Yeah. Even in California. And early this morning when I got up, I saw a great piece of news. I was emailing people from Utah and I said, where are the Utah sheriffs? We got it. This is the only association that's done it yet. We're anticipating Texas doing the same thing. Make sure when you leave here today and you go home, contact your county sheriff and make sure that he gets on board with the rest of the sheriffs in Texas and in this country that say, we will not tolerate any of this gun control in our counties. Contact them. We did not come here just to stand here and shake everybody's hand. This is a rally to get to work. And these people, these sheriffs, work for you. They only answer to you. Under the promise, they promised in God's name that they would protect and preserve your constitutional rights. And chief among those are the Bill of Rights. And chief among those is the Second Amendment. It seems like the books I've written, he mentioned the magic of gun control, and that's it right here. And the magic of gun control, some people have actually asked me, well, do you think there's some good to gun control? And I said, if there was ever any good to gun control, it would be magic. Thus the title. If you want magic, go to Disneyland or go see David Copperfield in Las Vegas. But I made up a new word for this book. And this book just came out a year ago, and it addresses every one of the issues that we're talking about today, including the mass shootings. That breaks our heart when we see those things. And we know that they could have been prevented, and a lot of these lives could have been saved had one of us been there. Right. And I pray that we will continue to be a little bit more intelligent in our approach to how we protect children, instead of telling every thug and maniac and lunatic that our schools are all gun-free zones. How stupid can you get? So, the word I made up for this book was polymagician. Do not follow these politicians who want you to believe they're magicians. Polymagicians, you're out of here, and freedom and liberty stays. Now, I'm going to give these books away up here, but afterwards, we're over here by this tree, and I want every one of you to do something today for freedom. I already told you, call your sheriff. The CSPOA, again, CSPOA.org, is only funded by you. We don't have corporate sponsors. We just do grassroots work all across America. We just had our convention in Las Vegas. We've had over 150 sheriffs and other public officials, county commissioners, anybody and everybody who will stand and erect the barriers against the encroachments of the national authority. We're working with them. We want governors, we want state reps, we want county commissioners, we want sheriffs, all building these defenses against the encroachments of the federal government. And so that's what we're doing. And the only way that we keep this going is with your donations. And they told us here we could take donations. So if you come over and donate, we'll just give you some books, okay? And when they run out, we still need your donations, but we'll just keep going, and you can get more of these. And we got more. And I want to give this one too, because I was getting after a younger girl today, and I was asking her, where should she be today? And it's right here. So the 15-year-old over here, come get your book. Yeah. I'm not really from Texas either. I was born and raised in Arizona, where I was sheriff. Yeah. And believe me, I'll tell you what, I've loved the 2 years that we've been here. I live in the hill country of Fredericksburg. We love Texas. We love the spirit of freedom that exists here. And I do have to tell you, though, I've got to give another book away. And my first book was a little crazy thing called From My Cold Dead Fingers. And I'm going to give this to a fellow alum, BYU. Come get your book. I graduated from BYU, and there she is, wearing my shirt there. Yeah.
Shake his hand.
And about 3.5 years ago, I was so sick of what happened in this country when we elected some foreigner from Kenya as president. I don't know how we did that, but as if we didn't know who he was before, you know, and we elect some communist as president of this country. So we've got a lot of defenses, and we've got a lot of things still to do. We've got a lot of work to do, and my friends, I want to reinforce something here. What we're doing at the CSPOA, there's a small opportunity and a small window, I believe, to still keep this movement for freedom and to restore our constitutional republic in a peaceful manner.
Cool.
And I believe that. I believe we can. We have an obligation as Americans and as Christians and as brothers and sisters of this great country to try to do this and stand now so our children and grandchildren don't have to fight later. This is a peaceful process.
Yes.
Now, and so I wrote a book to every sheriff, and every one of you needs to read this book. It's The County Sheriff, America's Last Hope. And I want to give it to this beautiful little girl over here. I wanted to give it to her mother so she could give it to her later. What a beautiful little girl. And this is all, I'll tell you what, I have 9 grandchildren. This is all for them. And I am so thrilled to be here with all of you today. I look into your eyes, and I travel all over the country, and that's what I do with the CSPOA. I just got back from Maryland. This coming week I go to Dallas and then Phoenix. And we're trying to take this message to every one of you. And every place I go, I still look into your eyes, and I see one similar thing. Your faces are different, but your eyes still say the same thing. We just want to be left alone, and we want to raise our family without the federal government trying to tell us how to run it.
Yeah!
When I was sheriff in Arizona, I was the first sheriff in American history to file a lawsuit against the Clinton administration or against any administration and tell them that we're not going to participate with their federal gun control scheme known as the Brady Bill. And there were actually 5 Brady Bills scheduled, and our lawsuit killed Brady Bills 2, 3, 4, and 5. Or we wouldn't even be here today because they were going to completely destroy the Second Amendment. The push for serializing ammunition, it was in Brady Bill 2. And we killed all that. 2 small town sheriffs go all the way to the Supreme Court and preserve the Second Amendment because that's what we swore to do. And you know what? I sued the Clintons, and I lived to tell about it. history of the Clintons and Billy Bob, you know, and all his administration back when he was governor, look at that. I mean, really examine it, and I did. I'm the only person to sue Bill Clinton on a non-sexual matter.
Well, he's trying to get you.
Yeah. Don't get him mad at me, though, okay? I don't want to be on that long list that's on the internet of all the people that disappeared. We don't care, though. They can make all the threats against us. They can do all the exploitation, the browbeating. They can pass all these. Well, you don't pass an executive order. Executive orders are nothing but trash in the first place. And, even if they pass another law, it's still trash. If it doesn't coincide with the fundamental supreme law of the land, it means nothing. And so just let me tell them, along with you, I'm not a sheriff anymore, but let me give you this order. Never, under any circumstance, are you to give up your guns or disarm yourself. Ever. Not for anybody. Things, as an investigator and as somebody who looks at our Constitution, and I have studied it and I've studied our history, and people will come up to me and say, well, Sheriff, don't you agree with background checks? And I said, on criminals I do, on law-abiding citizens I don't. And this is the thing, my dear friends, if you tell the government that they have the authority to force you to go through a background check, then they have the authority to continue that gun control measure. A criminal history background check on you for just exercising your Second Amendment rights is an infringement. Okay? It's an infringement. And I'll tell you, I'll be the first to line up. I'll be the first to line up for a background check as soon as it's voluntary. But I will not succumb to any of their stupid laws, and that's just one of them. They want you to think about that. And they say, oh, it's a good idea. Well, the Constitution, in my Supreme Court case, Justice Scalia said, the Constitution protects us from our own best intentions. And that's where we are today. We're not going to compromise any of the Second Amendment. We're not going to allow any infringements because gun control and infringements are against the law. Once you start giving them authority they do not constitutionally have, where does it stop? That's what's brought us here today. It's to stop today. Now, we have, and what about those horrible incidents? What about the worst mass killings in American history? They try to blame them on citizens. It's always been government. You can look at Kent State, you can look at Ruby Ridge, you can look at Waco. If the sheriffs, I will tell you this, if the sheriffs had remained in charge of any of those places, the law would have been enforced and no one would have been killed. Leave it to the sheriffs. Now, when I was first studying the Constitution, I did so at a police training class. And the instructor's name was Dr. W. Cleon Skousen. And he taught us as law enforcement officers about the Constitution. And I was converted to the Constitution as a rookie cop way back in 1983. And then when I ran for sheriff, I said, we will enforce the Constitution here. We will abide by the Bill of Rights. You would think that would be a simple thing for those who have sworn to do that they would actually be able to focus and keep their word in expressing their defense of the Bill of Rights, the supreme law of the land. And yet we still have problems with that today, that people don't understand their obligation to keep their word and keep their oath. And so when Dr. Skousen was teaching me, he handed me his book, and it was called The Making of America. And I traded him a book. 10 years later, I wrote my first book, and I gave him my book. And he told me something that I'll never forget. He said, he challenged me to do this, and he said, promise me that you'll teach these things to your children. Well, I have. I kept my promise, and now I teach them all across America, and we're teaching sheriffs and cops all across America. And I've started teaching them to my 9 grandchildren. And the oldest one is barely 6 years old, and her name is Libby. because she was born on the 4th of July, and her name is Liberty. Liberty LaDawn Mack Hardy. And so I want you to know that what I learned at police training, I'm going to share with you today. I'm going to end my remarks with this. When 240 cops went to the University of Utah in Salt Lake City to learn about our Constitution and our oath of office and the foundation of America and the making of America, and what a miracle this all was, and how we today have an obligation to make sure that miracle never dies. And we are the result of that miracle. And it's because we've adhered to the principles that we will not bend on the principles expressed in the Bill of Rights. And when the Founding Fathers developed the Bill of Rights, they said, these are the untouchables by government. These are the strict rules that government can never cross. They can never change, alter, or legislate anything about these precious freedoms. And that's what they had in mind. And that's why the Second Amendment is so vital to America and to freedom. And they want us to get in this argument as to whether or not there is a statistical analysis that proves that gun ownership is safer and reduces crime. It doesn't matter. Gun control in America is against the law. So now, I want you to feel from my heart to yours. And so I'm going to close with what Dr. Skousen taught all of us. At police training, I want you to remember while I do this, while I say goodbye to you in sign language, I want you to know that this is from my heart to yours, and I dedicate it to each and every one of you. And I dedicate it to the Founding Fathers. And I dedicate it to my children and yours, and to my grandchildren and yours. And this was a little kindergarten exercise that I learned this at police training. But I think it's so apropos to what we're doing here today. And I call it America's political prayer. It might not be a prayer, but then again, it might be the only one we have left. And again, remember that what I share with you now, I learned at police training. And it goes like this. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. And that's the eagle. Long may she be free.
Amen.